And welcome everybody to that 401k virtual bunch. Ari Rosenbaum here. And Cheryl didn't realize, but I'm wearing a St. Louis Blues jersey today. I all of a sudden was looking at the jerseys and I wanted something warm, and I said hockey jersey, and I'm like, the Wayne Gretzky for the half a year he was with St. Louis. I said, I gotta get that one. And then it's coincidentally that you were, the guest for today. So Cheryl, how are you?
I'm great. If I'd known that, I think Daryl's got a Wayne Gretzky bobblehead over there on top of. That's what I was looking on his side of the office. My husband.
It's
So
funny. It's funny. When as a kid growing up, I couldn't stand Gretzky, and then in terms of hockey players, I have the most Gretzky jerseys because the Kings,
yeah,
and I have two Kings jerseys, and I have this one. So, Sheryl Hickerson, my guest, females in finance, and before we just get into that, I just want to shill for my events tomorrow. I got that 4K virtual conference number 8. 2 weeks from today, December 3rd, we're going to do a virtual bunch with Larry Davis. And for the people that don't know, Larry is the guy who books all my athlete appearances for all my events. And Larry is not only a former sports memorabilia guru, he's in sports management, he's a financial advisor, he has an insurance license. So we'll go through the many lives of Larry Davis in 2 weeks. That 401k virtual conference number 9 is going to be on December 18th. That 401k National Virtual Conference is January 21, 22, 2021. Just booked a good friend of mine, Congressman Jamie Raskin from Maryland. He'll be one of the guests. Retireaholics will be there. Walt Frazier, Doc Gooden. Early bird special ends on Thanksgiving, $20.21. So again, my guest, Sheryl Hickerson from Females in Finance. Sheryl, how are you?
pretty good today. Not bad
How's the weather?
for a pandemic.
How's the weather in St. Louis now?
It was really cold last night, but we were just out at a few minutes ago, and it was pretty warm. So, I mean, I think it's pretty typical for the Lou. It's just up and
Yeah,
down,
we're
very
like
bipolar.
40. I think we're 40 degrees today. I don't even know.
Oh no, no, we're like
Oh,
62, 63.
oh yeah. Well, I think we're gonna get back to the 50s, but we're getting close to December. Um, so how'd you start your career?
Faxed my resume to the wrong number and somebody called from financial. This is a true story. I faxed my resume to the wrong number. I'd moved from St. Louis to San Francisco and I was like, wow, I'm broke. I need a job. And so I went to a Kinko's in Berkeley, California, and completely I just thought, well, the resume and the book look pretty good. I started copying some of the words out of it and faxed it off, didn't know I was sending it to the wrong one. And Mass Mutual Insurance called me and said, I think you're looking for something else, but we're hiring. You want to come in? Yeah, I do. And that was it.
I miss Kinko's. I mean, it's FedEx office
Yeah.
now, but Kinko's was like, I mean, 25 years ago, that place was like the bomb, as they say.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they had, back in the day when, you needed access to a computer and it was right there and you could rent it out and,
And that's
do
so
it.
funny you mentioned about the computer being right there because the computer I'd never had seen a computer like until I that day. And I went in, it was the old like
Mac,
Mac boxes.
The Mac SE30s.
Yeah, they were just like the little
Those
crunchy
are
little
like the
box.
thing, you date yourself. When I was in college, that was what the computers were at the sync site, and they were all monochrome. They didn't have color monitors still
Uh-huh.
in the early '90s. So yeah, of course, that dates ourselves. Um, so after Mass, how'd you get before? Guide me through between that and starting your own organization.
Yeah, so I basically what happened was when I started there, it was just to be a call director. I just was answering phones and sending calls where they needed to be. But very soon I started asking lots of questions and hey, I don't understand this policy or why are we selling? I don't get it. And I'll never forget one of the guys in the office, the gentleman who hired me is still my mentor to this very day, Robert Brumby. I give him a shout out all the time because he is amazing. But one of the people came in his office and said, she's smart. She's like asking questions. What are we going to do with her? And he's like, oh my God, we might promote her, it's this thought as a woman. And so that was it. I mean, they started moving me through the ranks and I think really that setup couldn't have been any better for me for where I'm at today because part of that living through the Wolf of Wall Street kind of times, and it really was, it was that oftentimes I could be doing the same things as male counterparts, except a lot of things were often also deferred to me too. Like, well, send Cheryl to the airport to pick him up. And I'm like, why am I going? Well, you're cute. What? How did I get that job? And then, or it was, somebody put their hand on my knee and be like, honey, go get our sandwiches. Honey, we have the same exact title. What are you talking about? And Robert was really a big proponent of let's make it all, equal and giving me a voice. And he really got on me about you need to stand up for yourself. So as I progressed through that, I stayed at Mass Mutual for 4 years and I really loved it. And I started off answering phones. I ended up being an account rep for them. And I really enjoyed my job. But I did what a lot of women do. I decided to have a family. And so I stayed home for a few years and I knew it was so funny. I had these kids and I'm looking around and I'm going, yeah, I can't be with you all day. You're going to drive me fruit. And so off to the sitters you go. I want to go back to my job, but this time I wanted to go in a different direction. So I started I got a job at an estate planning office. So I had done all of this and I had been getting a lot of direction from estate planners. That really set me into a whole nother world that I'm going to be honest. I'll never forget the first day of work. I came home and I shut the door and they said, Cratton, Crutton, Gratton, Grutton, I'm out. I'm never coming back there, And so this was before Googling things. I'm old. Like I tell everybody, I still carry my pager. This was my first thing I ever bought myself with discretionary income.
Oh
I
my!
lived in
This is
San
something I had in
Francisco.
college that I got at. It wasn't even Costco then; it was Price Club. That's how.
Yeah, it was Price Club. That's right. I still have my Price Club card because I didn't want to get rid of it because I was like, they don't even have that anymore. But this is the first thing I ever bought myself, and yeah. So it's been a crazy when I left that job and got into estate planning, I said no, no, no. So I started going into the library and getting books out and reading and it just kept progressing from there. I would take one job, but all the while I would notice that I was oftentimes the only woman. I mean, and it was an admin position. I thought, why does this keep happening? So now fast forward, we go into like 2000, I guess it would have been 2015. I started doing a lot of speaking. People were trying to figure out how was it that I knew all these people. Like people would come into, I worked for a very, very large IMO. I was vice president of business development for them. And they should be coming in and asking for the president of the company, except they were coming in and they'd be like, yeah, is Cheryl here? And one day they walked up to my office and they said, okay, you come with me. And I said, no, we're not firing me. I just bought a car. You can fire anybody else, but I got a car, and they were laughing at me. And I'm like, no, that's not what it's about. What it was getting me out there speaking to people about how it was that I was amplifying. So I started going to conferences, and I'm not talking about one or two Z. I'm talking 25 to 40 of them a year I was speaking at. How was I finding business online? And then how was I teaching that to other advisors? That was really the space to this very day that I enjoy the most is that I've been featured in like 9 books and won a bunch of awards and it's because I'm just really real about it. I go out there and I look for people doing good work. I want to know you and I want to know about you. And I really kind of quiz you because even on our first meeting, Ari, I mean, I'm like, okay, so tell me about your business. I mean, I really want to get into the depth of, in the weeds with you on that. That spawned that desire to teach people and be out there really is what spawned Females in Finance, because I would go to events and I would stand on a podium or behind a lectern. I'd look out and I love men. I'm married to a man, but it is a sea of middle-aged, older age white men. And I thought, this is just, I just know there's so many other women doing this. What are we doing wrong? And I figured out what it was. I kept waiting, like many of us do, no matter what it is that we do in life, for someone to ripple that pond. And then you get to catch the wave and ride with it, right? It's like,
Right.
oh, somebody did this. I'm going to go with it. And so that trending, I realized one day I was like, I'm the rippler. I'm the person who has to ripple the pond. So I spent 2017. I interviewed 400 women, asked them how they got here. So their recruitment, their training, and their advancement. I asked them about male allyship. Every woman, by the way, that I interviewed for the intrinsic value of do you feel successful? 100% of them had a male ally. So I knew male momentum was going to be an important part of us doing anything, fast. I like to move fast. And And then from there, I started the organization more formally May of 2018. And in 22 months, we have 3,000 members. And it's just kind of nuts. And every member gets vetted. So it's not like you get to go fill out an application and then you just get in.
It's not like LinkedIn where you just sign up and, you pretend whatever, we always joke about the LinkedIn invitations.
Yeah.
Which always drives me nuts.
Oh, yeah. I live in LinkedIn. I tell people all the time. But I'll tell you, it's people such as yourself that I get to kind of go out and look and be like, oh, this person's been writing, they've got events, what are they doing? And I can kind of go out and do a little homework in that space. And if you do that, you really will get some really good return on what you find out. At the same time, I mean, people can also present themselves however they want, and everybody's the best thing since sliced bread. And I can definitely tell you that's not true. And so you kind of have to weed it out. And that was the important part of building an organization like mine, because I wanted to have the very best of the best. So
Mike Webb wants to know well, first of all, let's go back. Greg Greenfield had a question about the pager. So when you had a pager, you paid, going back to 1992, it was like $12 a month for a pager. And I had the same pager that Sheryl had. I mean, it was all black. It's gone long ago. I think it was PageNip was the name of the company. It was a Motorola.
This was Motorola.
It was a Motorola pager. And my father around that time had the really fancy pager where you could get like real texts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like a text phone. I mean, I think that was maybe $30 a month. And you could actually, you called him. You would have like a message, you talk to an operator, and then they would write a text and they would get, a text.
And it was like a telegram almost at that time.
That blew my mind when that came out.
I had one, I worked for an ad agency in the late 90s, and we were given one because we worked on the Nissan account, and we were out at a lot of the dealerships in the tri-state area. And I actually noted, I found a way you could get sports scores on it. So that was probably the most use I got out of my pager.
I actually use it as a prop a lot of times when I talk about communication, because what was amazing about this from a technology perspective is I could send my number to someone and they knew to call me back. But then that wasn't good enough. It was my number and then 911. You call me now, and then it was 411. I need some information from you when you call, hello. We had all these little numbers and things we would send out. So it's really important for people to understand that communication is literally the key to marketing, to anything you do, because this little piece of, technology, although it looks very archaic to I have 9 grandkids. My grandsons are like, and they're not like cute grandkids. They're like smelly 12-year-old boy grandkids. I'm a lot older than people realize. They'll come over and they're like, they call me crazy grandma. They're like, crazy grandma, what is this thing? And I'm like, this is new technology. And I totally make up some BS story. And then they're like, they sit there, they look at that the whole time, and they're like, yeah, this is stupid.
I had it in college in the early 90s, and the worst part of it was most of the time I was sitting in a part of the student union that was in the basement that you couldn't get
any signal.
Yeah, so it was.
Yeah, and then you'd go out and we'd go all over the place. I remember.
So out of the 3,000 members, how many are, Mike had a question, how many are retirement plan advisors, would you say?
I would say, so here's how because we don't break them down by their title like that. So here's how the composition of the group and the architecture lies. Okay. The composition of it, about 70% identifies that insurance investment space. That's also registered investment advisors, fee, whatever, however they identify. The very next big chunky group of people that are in our community, because we're all fintech, there's going to be bankers and estate planners and actuary and underwriters and accountants and yada yada that goes on. Okay, but then the actual architecture of it is, I have it broken down to 3 groups. From there, it's going to be what I call my babs, and those are my broke ass babes. They're usually brand new. They're learning how to spend money. I'm really real. We should have told everybody. They're learning how to spend money on themselves, how to invest in things, getting designations. Right. Yeah. Then there's that seasoned professional. That would be me, Grandma Sheryl. She's going to be up here at that 30 plus year. And we oftentimes are growing a practice, okay to spend more money, want to mentor somebody, but want a quality mentee. Like, I'm not just going to go pick somebody somebody and be like, it's not like the claw where we come down and just grab one and say, okay, you do. No, no, no. But then we have this really big chunk of what I call my go-go girls. These are the ones that are usually brick and mortar, very few virtual practices, but oftentimes have virtual assistants. Sometimes they have in-person. They are designated speaking, writing books. That is a big part of who we are. And that median age is 35 to 44 is our group. The thing that's really impressive to me, because I vet, and I tell everybody this, depending on what kind of community you want to build out there, vetting is the number one most laborious part of what you're doing. But the end is like heaven, because we have 2,993 members, 2,472 were active in the last 30 days. That is 82% of our community engaged. And that's not me having to post. That's them posting, liking, sharing. It's everything. It's not just like they scrolled across something and it happened to be in the feed. No, 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 no. They actually had to stop in a 7+ second market. And why is it 7 seconds? Because that's the time span that you're getting with people, 7 seconds. So I mean, it's resonating. And because our Male Ally Network, which Ari's a member of that, what we do is we go out and vet men who want to see diverse talent do well. So whether that's, women, whether that's people of color, the LGBTQ plus, the list goes on, that we want to be a very supportive environment, but because we want to get into and underrepresented communities. Retirement plan is a part of that. And I don't think that there's enough women in that space, in my opinion. So it's a long answer to a very short question, but we could be doing a better job.
How do you think the business, in terms of advisory work for females, how's it compared to when you started?
Say that again. I caught up the first part. I'm sorry.
Female presence in the advisory world, how has it changed over the last 30 years?
Still pretty dismal. I mean, our numbers are suggesting somewhere around 16-17% of professionals. And I'd say that that's really reaching. I do think that there are organizations, whether it's mine, whether it's the, Quad A, the African American Financial Advisors Association, whether it's, and then there's NAFA, there's MDRT, there's the CFP board, American College. We're all trying to make initiatives more dynamic. And I think that that's where I think an organization like mine holds other organizations more accountable. For example, I mean, wealthmanagement.com and I are not friendly with each other because I call them out. They post so many panels of professionals and they're always white men. And I always start off like super nice, like, hey, I got gals that do this. Hey, that's how I end up at the end. So they don't care for me so much, but there's other organizations. I have to give you an example. Advisor Hub. I kind of called out Tony Sirianni. I was like, hey, you got a lot of men on here. Do you know that women do this work too? Right. And at first he was kind of pissy. And then he called me back and he goes, you know what? You're right. You're right. Let's work on that. That I can work with all day long because that's all I'm trying to do is make us balanced, to bring equity. I'm an equitable platform for that.
But do you see changes coming about? I hate to be, I don't know, I don't want to be ageist, but I'm 48.
I'm
people
not.
People are 15, 20 years older than I am. They tend to be, my wife worked at a law firm like a year ago, and the partners were in their 60s, and they were just chauvinists. They would say things that somebody like me would never say in an office. Do you think that generationally, as we get older, next 15, 20 years, that we're going to see a shift because the decision makers who hire advisors or who head advisory firms are going to be less chauvinistic, more open? I mean, we see, like, for example, you talk about LGBT community. Some of the stuff that we have today in terms of their standing in the community is a lot different than it was 30 years ago. I knew an advisor, 15 years ago. The fact that he was gay and he was his big business was the gay community. 15 years ago, that wasn't something that he would publicly discuss. And this is something that today that's a niche to be a advisor in, specific communities. But do you
Yeah.
see a change that's going to
Yeah,
happen?
I think that there is going to be a change. I think it's happening. I'm hopeful that it's going to be in the lifetime of the time that I spend here in financial services, that I can go to events and it be more, um, just more diverse looking. I will tell you there's certain events that I'm going to, that when we used to go to in person, this year's been a little light on that. But, for the ones before that, for example, it's been nice to go to events where the diversity metric has been set pretty high, the bar of what's going to happen, even to the point where, a CEO or, the sponsors get on stage and say, hey, do yourself a favor. Why don't you network with somebody who you don't know or doesn't look like you? Go sit at a table of people you've never met. Because when the directives come from the top down like that, it has a different feel to it, right? And I, as someone who speaks often, will look at cards. And yeah, one of the things that I have in my favor as a speaker is people are like, oh, she's funny, or she's this, or she's real, and it works out because I can do that. But that I know that that's not everybody else's. But one of the things I will also say really hard words. I say really hard words. Like I was at an event with 3,000 people, and I was getting ready to talk, and I stopped and I turned around and I said, how many of you ate lunch here this week? And I knew full well how many had eaten lunch because I saw them. And I said, how many of you ate, and I said, you don't have to raise your hand, answer in your brain. How many of you ate with somebody you already knew? You already knew that person. And they're like, I saw the kind of snickers and looked at each other like they're buddies and stuff. I said, that's right. So when you go back to fill out your speaker cards, don't you dare say that this is the same old conference you've always done because you didn't do anything to change it. You are responsible for meeting some new people. You are responsible for getting some new knowledge and, new people, new buddies, new friends. And I said, and you know what? Even challenge yourself to sit with somebody that doesn't look like you, whether that's female, whether it's a different color, they speak a different language. I don't care. Pick up your lunch, because I have yet to ever 200 conferences in 8 years ever walked to a table and said, is the seat taken? And somebody said, absolutely, you can't sit here. No way. They're like, yeah, come and you're laughing because it's true. They're like, please sit down, have a seat. That is the responsibility we have as leaders. And it's the responsibility that we have as speakers. And it's the responsibility that we have as communities to come and set the tone of making that change. And then, Artie, to your point, the real change starts to happen in that, because guess what? I have nothing against white male professionals. I think they do a damn great job. I think that they are missing out on what so much more they could be doing simply because they get caught up in doing what they've always done to get what they've always gotten.
Yeah, but do you find that people, when you talk about female empowerment or diversity, do you
Mhm.
have that pushback where people all of a sudden get worried? Like,
Mm.
to me, it's always, if you're talking about female empowerment, well, what about males?
Oh, I get that. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. And you know what I think about that? I'll tell you what it is. Anybody who says that is scared, that comes from a place of fear. You're here
right.
to replace me. It's the ones who pick up the phone and they call me, and it sounds a little bit more like this. Cheryl, I don't work with a lot of women, but I want to change that. I'd like to be better. Or, Cheryl, I gotta be honest. I don't have anybody. I have not a single Black client. What do I do to break through that? That I can work with all day long, because you're coming from a place of, hey, but my favorite, the ones that don't are the ones who come up to, on the phone or in person. Why do you people got to be like this?
Yep,
And that was said to me on a stage. And
sure.
my answer was, and because of you, I still have a job. So thank you. And so I just went about it, because that's the kind of scarcity mentality that comes out. And it's only going to be hurtful. It's the ones that I see attacking other people. I see it on LinkedIn, for example. You know, there's no need for any of that. But yeah, do they exist? Oh, every day. And like I said, my husband travels quite a bit. He's also a financial service professional, and he travels a lot with me. And he comes home amazed. He said these are the amount of learning that I get out of these events at your cost. I'm sorry, honey. He goes, it's profound. And so now when he's working with clients, one of the things that he's doing is kind of looking at his book going, yeah, sure got a lot of old white men here on here. Maybe I need to So you know what he did? This is a true story. He went and got licensed in the state of Texas to do insurance, and he's been working with somebody there so they can introduce him to more Hispanic clients, Latinas, and Latinos, so that he could start to diversify. Because he's like, it's a space I don't work in. I don't speak Spanish, so he got an interpreter, and that's what he does. And he feels like he's doing a good job. I mean, he'll say like, whoa, we got to do a Zoom. I got to get Paula on the call because I can't speak the person's language. So
how do people get involved with Females in Finance if they want to?
Yeah, a couple of different ways. So one is if you know any great women, always welcome to send them my way. And then they can join. For those men who aren't interested in becoming a part of the Male Ally Network, which I tell them is not a job because nobody needs another job, right? My God. No, what it is more of an understanding. I am about diverse talent. I am about wanting to diversify my practice. All of our networking is free. I say that with the caveat of we have a membership arm of our business, which is $19 a month. That teaches you a lot of marketing. We have a lot of marketing workshops, social media graphics and calendars and discounts and blah, to everything that's out there just about you can imagine. But more importantly, you get access to some really quality small group learning within that too. And that would be a good example where if we wanted to start, hint, a retirement planning community or a 401k community, or, we could be doing that. And that's where I need facilitators really, because it's not a conversation I can hold. I can drive people there, but I can't hold it.
I volunteer myself for that.
I volunteer
myself.
Okay, Katniss.
As opposed to my wife who volunteers me to do things,
Yeah, I do that for Daryl all the time.
Thursdays is the Costco day where I have to go to Costco in the morning.
Oh, there's some good questions here real quick. Hold on. I want to read through these. What about the podcast? Where can we find it? How long are the episodes? Is that for something? Maybe that's for something else. Is that about Mike podcast?
Mike has a podcast.
What's that?
Mike Webb has a podcast.
Oh, okay. I have to hear about that.
No, and I was asking about Cheryl.
No, I meant your podcast. We meant your podcast, Cheryl.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah.
We weren't asking about ours.
I love it. Well, so don't listen. We just literally pushed Ari aside. We're like, he's out.
Mike every day. I don't get to talk to you.
Well, that's the beauty of this event because it's like I always like how this always they come in, they talk, and
I love it. I do too, and that's what I am. I'm really good at this. So anybody who is a pro member can get access to having me do a podcast with them. I interview you. We clean it up, we get it out, we promote. It gives you repurposable content. There's a whole lot of stuff that we do there. One of the questions I loved on here was, what about how do you motivate people to become speakers, male or female? So I'm going to tell you something. You have thought leadership within that can only be expressed in one of two ways. You can either write it, blogging, or books. You can speak it. That's all you've got. If that's it, you need to be good at one of them for sure. And for whatever you're not good at, hire someone to help you be good at it. And better if you're, good at both of them. Okay. Because then they help kind of tie up. One of the things I love this time of year because it makes it the easiest way for me to describe it is the Thanksgiving dinner. Oh my gosh, it's my favorite time of year. So I tell everybody, I see a lot of people out there making a whole lot of turkeys with their content, and they got to stop it. It's if you go to a dinner, unless you're with a massively huge family, there's only one turkey on that table. It might be a ham, but there's only one turkey. Okay. And if that's the case, think about that turkey. What are all the things you can do with it afterwards, right? Well, you can make turkey soup and turkey sandwiches and turkey broth, and you've got all these things you can be doing. That's how you repurpose. That becomes a blog and a tweet, and you get the point. The side dishes of your table are all the supporting content to that turkey. So if you wrote something or you did a video or you did an interview, then you have a supporting somebody else's. I always call it, you're down with OPP, other people's products, other people's, plans, policies, procedures, whatever, to support that. Because what you want to do is get a third party in. So a good example is if I wanted to talk about a 401k piece, well, I'm going to have Ari's piece, who's my friend, but more importantly, He's a third party to it to support something that I said. That is when you use other people's stuff. Okay, that's their property, other people's property. You want to be putting that in there, but only create one turkey. Make sure that your side dishes always support your table. Your table is what your services and your offering is. And I think that that helps people kind of understand, because I see people out there going, I'm going to blog every single day for a year. Oh, shut up. No, you're not. Don't. You're going to go 5 times and then be like, this sucks. And the other thing is, it took 9 months to make a baby. Do not come back to me 4 months into this and going, I'm not seeing any return. Well, neither would you either when you make a human.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I love that. Is there still a lot of misogyny out there? Oh boy, yeah, Mike, I remember going to events. Okay. So really quick, I got to tell this too. The other person, I'll give them a minute. They'll sit on my call for a second. So the funny thing about what I love about events now is the fact that we actually have leaders who stand up on a stage, or they get a call and they say things like, so we're going to go into this event, and if you get drunk and you mishandle yourself, you're out. You'll never come back to another one of these events again. You will never be invited back. And I'm going to tell you, I watched somebody on stage say that. We went to a happy hour. I'm standing with my very, very good friend, Bill Simonet, who is a CFP professional down in Austin. He's 6'6" Haitian. And somebody walked up to him without missing a beat and said, so Bill, how is it being black at a conference like this?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
And Bill without missing a beat says, well, I don't know. How is it being white? Because I don't know that one either. And he walked away, and I my mouth was on the ground. And Bill goes, well, it was going to be one or two of us. He was either going to say something to you or he was going to say something to me. It just happened to be me that got it, And I thought, oh, because that kind of stuff happens a lot. And so we're trying really hard across all of the differences in diversity to make challenges against that. My favorites when Jocelyn Wright, who I have maddest respect for in the entire universe, one of my dear, dear friends, we were sitting at a table, and she is, if you've never met her, she keeps her hair very short. She's a pretty dark Black woman sitting at this table, and somebody came up and asked her where her boss was.
Oh boy.
She said, "Oh, well, where's your boss? Or where's your CEO?" And she looked at them and she said, "I am the CEO." Okay.
Yep.
And and I will also tell you, I was at the same event where she was walking through and somebody stopped her, thought she worked there.
Of course.
Yeah. And so we have so much work to do, And so and she handled it with the utmost grace like I've ever seen, because I would be pissed. I'm going to tell you right now, that would have not set well with me. So I'm looking to see what else is on here. Anything else that I missed? So you guys can always reach out to me. It's really easy. Sheryl at femalesandfinance.com. And happy to always.
And you will be there in January, because
Yes, I'll be there in January. That's what I said. I wrote down
the whole diversity panel.
Yes, I'm super excited. Anything I can do to help, I'm here. If you guys are looking for really good marketing workshops, not going to lie, no place else on the planet can you go for $19 a month and get access to 2 to 4 classes a month. Amazing small group learning, and people just salt of the earth. Ari knows, he's in it. They're all there to help each other. It's a phenomenal organization. So, and I'm not the organization. I always tell everybody I'm just a shepherd. I'm just here. Everybody else is the community. I just happen to be the person, the ringleader of it.
I'm a shepherd. That's a great Chevy Chase line in Fletch.
I know. All right.
Okay.
I think my part's done.
Yes. So Sheryl, thank you so much for being a part of this, and we'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow at that 401k virtual conference number 8, and then 2 weeks from today with Larry Davis. So Sheryl, thank you so much.
Bye. Good to meet you guys. Take care.
Same here. Bye-bye.
Bye now.